Hello guys, I'm Sarai. In today's video, I'm going to react to a practice strategy where I paraphrase an audiobook called The Alchemist, written by Pablo Coelho. So let's get started.
The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. The boy's name was Santiago. Dusk was falling as the boy arrived with his herd at an abandoned church. The roof had fallen in long ago, and an enormous sycamore had grown on the spot where the sacristy had once stood. He decided to spend the night there. He saw to it that all the sheep entered through the ruined gate, and then laid some planks across it to prevent the flock from wandering away during the night. He swept the floor with his jacket and lay down, using the book he had just finished reading as a pillow. He told himself that he would have to start reading thicker books. They lasted longer and made more comfortable pillows. It was still dark when he awoke, and looking up, he could see the stars through the half-destroyed roof. I wanted to sleep a little longer, he thought. He had had the same dream that night as a week ago, and once again he had awakened before it ended. He arose and, taking up his crook, began to awaken the sheep that still slept. He had noticed that as soon as he awoke, most of his animals also began to stir. It was as if some mysterious energy bound his life to that of the sheep, with whom he had spent the past 2 years, leading them through the countryside in search of food and water.
Well, I'm sorry for my voice. I've been a little sick and I couldn't speak loudly as I want. At first, I was very nervous because paraphrasing practice in Spanish was a bit difficult, so I figured this would be a bit more. I think what have helped me was that the audio was not so fast, so it gave me time to say the message in other words as best as possible. Also, at the beginning, it was difficult for me to adapt to not repeating exactly what the audio book said. So I just focused on listening and expressing the message in my own way without losing the meaning.
He muttered.
After so much time with me,
but there were certain of them who took a bit longer to awaken. The boy prodded them one by one with his crook, calling each by name. He had always believed that the sheep were able to understand what he said. So there were times when he read them parts of his books that had made an impression on him, or when he would tell them of the loneliness or the happiness of a shepherd in the fields. Sometimes he would comment to them on the things he had seen in the villages they passed. But for the past few days, he had spoken to them about only one thing: the girl, the daughter of a merchant who lived in the village that would reach in about 4 days. He had been to the village only once, the year before. The merchant was the proprietor of a dry goods shop, and he always demanded that the sheep be sheared in his presence so that he would not be cheated. A friend had told the boy about the shop, and he had taken his sheep there. I need to sell some wool, the boy told the merchant.
The boy said, I need to sell some wool.
The shop was busy, and the man asked the shepherd to wait until the afternoon. So the boy sat on the steps of the shop and took a book from his bag. I didn't know shepherds knew how to read, said a girl's voice behind him.
Can read, said
The girl was typical of the region of Andalusia, with flowing black hair and eyes that vaguely recalled the Moorish conquerors.
What happened to me is that sometimes I didn't know how to say the message in other words, so I said it exactly the same so that I wouldn't forget the rest. I also didn't understand certain vocabulary, so I concentrate on listening carefully to the pronunciation because in past practices sometimes I thought I hear words that weren't not the correct words. But I think I have a good collage the time between listening and repeating the message. I didn't speak um, instantly, but I didn't let much time pass either, and I think that helped me a lot of to not forget the words so much.
Well, usually I learn more from my sheep than from books, he answered. During the 2 hours that they talked, she told him she was the merchant's daughter and spoke of life in the village, where each day was like all the others. The shepherd told her of the Andalusian countryside and related the news from the other towns where he had stopped. It was a pleasant change from talking to his sheep. He went on telling stories about his travels, and her bright Moorish eyes went wide with fear and surprise. As the time passed, the boy found himself wishing that the day would never end, that her father would stay busy and keep him waiting for 3 days. He recognized that he was feeling something he had never experienced before, the desire to live in one place forever. With the girl with the raven hair, his days would never be the same again. And now it was only 4 days before he would be back in that same village. He was excited and at the same time uneasy. Maybe the girl had already forgotten him. Lots of shepherds passed through, selling their wool. It doesn't matter, he said to his sheep. I know other girls in other places. But in his heart, he knew that it did matter. And he knew that shepherds, like seamen and traveling salesmen, always found a town where there was someone who could make them forget the joys of carefree wandering. The day was dawning, and the shepherd urged his flock in the direction of the sun. The sheep never had to make any decisions. They were content with just food and water, and in exchange, they generously gave of their wool, their company, and once in a while their meat.
Well, at that point, after some practices, it's not so hard for me to hear another voice, another person's voice, and my voice. It doesn't confuse me as much as before. Some words were a bit complicated for me because I didn't know what it meant, but I tried to know or to get an idea depending on the context. Sometimes, as I mentioned before, I forgot to paraphrase because of what I noticed in the video. But the good thing was that thanks to the fact that the audio wasn't so fast, it gave me time to paraphrase and I didn't forget so many ideas.
And so did the boy. His purpose in life was to travel, And after 2 years of walking the Andalusian
In 2
terrain,
years of
he
tour
knew
of the
all the
Andalusian
cities of the
plains, he
region.
already knew all the
He
cities
was
of the
planning
region,
on
and
this
this was the great
visit
reason of his
to
life,
explain to
to
the girl
travel.
how it
He was
was
thinking
that a
on
simple
explaining this time to the
shepherd
youth
knew how to
what a
read,
simple shepherd knows
that
how
he
to
had
read.
attended a
He had
seminary
been in a
until he was
seminary
16.
until
His
he was
parents had
16.
wanted him to become a priest, and
His
thereby
parents
a
want
source of
him
pride
was
for
a
a
priest,
simple farm family.
a source of pride for a
They
simple
worked
mission
hard just to
family.
have food and water, like the
He
sheep.
worked to get food
He had
and
studied
water
Latin,
like his sheep.
Spanish, and theology. But ever
He
since
studied
he had
Latin,
been a child,
Spanish, and
he had
theology.
wanted to know the world.
But since
And this was
I
much
was a
more
child,
important
I
to
dreamed
him
of
than
seeing the
knowing
world.
God and learning about
And
man's
this
sins.
was much more important
One
than knowing
afternoon,
God
on
and
a
the
visit to
things
his
of men.
family, he had
One
summoned
afternoon,
up
while
the
with
courage to
family,
tell his father that he
he
didn't want
had
to
the
become a
courage and
priest,
told his father, who
that
didn't
he
want to be a
wanted to
priest,
travel. People
I
all
want to
over the
travel.
world have passed through this village, son, said his
Men from all
father.
the world had passed
They
through
come
this
in search of
town, so
new
said
things,
his
but
father.
when they leave,
They
they
come
are
looking for
basically
new
the
things,
same people they
but
were
they
when they
remain the same
arrived.
people.
Ha! They climb the mountain to see the castle, and they
They got
wind
up
up thinking
to
that
see
the
the
past
castle
was better than what we have now.
and think that the past is
But
much
I'd
better
like
than
to
the
see the
present.
castles in the towns where they live,
But I don't know
the
the
boy
castles on the
explained.
lands they come from,
Those
replied the boy.
people, when they see our land,
Those men,
say that
when
they
they
would
knock our
like to
fields
live here
and our
forever,
women,
his father pointed out.
they want live
Well,
here forever.
I'd
The
like
father
to see
continued.
their land and
I
see
want to
how
meet the
they
land they came
live,
from.
said his son.
Um, I think the practice and the directions have been very helpful so that I can learn from my mistakes and improve. I think I have improved my concentration and that mental fatigue takes longer to arrive. Obviously, there are many things that I need to continue improving, such as my English skills, acquire more vocabulary, and practice uh, my pronunciation. But in general, I feel that I have already mm, adapt, adapted to doing simultaneous interpreting, and that everything is based on practice and learning.
Spend so they can
Man
afford to
brings pockets
travel,
full of money,
his father said.
the father
Amongst
insisted.
us, the only ones who travel are the shepherds.
Only shepherds travel.
Well, then I'll be a shepherd.
So I be a
His
shepherd.
father said no more.
The father said
The
nothing
next
more.
day, he gave his son a pouch that held
The
3
next day, he
ancient
gave him
Spanish gold
a bag
coins.
with all
I
Spanish
found these one day in the
gold coins.
fields.
I
I
found
wanted them
one
to
day
be
in
a
the field.
part of your inheritance,
They were going to
but
be your
use them
inheritance.
to buy your flock.
But
Take
use them
to the
follow your
fields,
dreams.
and someday you'll
Travel
learn
the
that
world
our
until you
countryside is the best, and our
that our
women
people is the most
the
important
most beautiful.
and that our women are the most
And he
beautiful.
gave the boy his blessing.
And he
The
blessed
boy
him.
could see in his father's gaze a desire to be
In the
able
father's eyes, he
himself
also read
to
the
travel
desire
the
to travel
world.
the world.
A desire that was still alive despite
A
his
desire that
father's
still
having had to
persists
bury it
by
over
the
dozens
years
of years
that have passed.
under the burden of struggling for water to
Try to
drink,
growing it with
food
water,
to eat, and the same
food,
place to
and the
sleep
same
every night of
place
his
to sleep
life.
every night.
The horizon was tinged with red, and suddenly the sun
horizon turned red,
appeared.
and the sun
The boy
appeared.
thought back to that conversation with his father
The
and
boy
felt happy.
remembered the conversation
He
with
had
her
already
father
seen
and felt
many
happy.
castles and met many women, but none the equal of the one who awaited him several days hence. It's the possibility of having a dream come true that makes life interesting, he thought, as he looked again at the position of the sun and hurried his pace.
Finally, I would like to say that during the video reaction, I was able to notice some mistakes, and it is the point of the video reactions because at the moments I don't realize, and after I watch it, I think I could say this in a better way, or what I think I hear was not what I uh, thought, and learn for the following practice. Always improve. It's not bad to be wrong, and that it doesn't turn out perfect because that was my fear when I started making the videos. And the point of all that is to learn and correct mistakes or make them less frequent.